Committee will come to order. The secretary will take a silent roll. Committee, we've kind of adapted the format with the consensus of the presidents today. We're going to take a short statement from each president, and then we're going to open it up for questions. President Dunlap, I'd note that it appears that you've got a majority of your board here to back you up and maybe to grade you on your presentation. I'm not sure.
I think it's both, Senator Getty.
And Dr. Glandon, you do as well, it appears. Dr. Beck, how about you?
I guess nobody cares.
And gentlemen, I'd remind you that there's a little slide on your microphone. You slide it up, the light will come on. Clear at the base. Very good. And I guess we'll start as per the agenda with a presentation from College of Southern Idaho. President Beck, welcome.
Thank you, Senator Geddes, and thank you for allowing us this change in format. I believe that all of you do have our presentations in hard copy, and we thought rather than going back through that with each of you this particular time, it might be good that we just kind of do some opening remarks and then allow you to ask your community colleges as a group questions that you might have about what's going on our campuses. So I would start. I would like to introduce my one board member I do have here. Laird Stone is here, and many of you know Laird. He was on the State Board of Education, past chair of the State Board of Education, was elected to our board in November. Thank him for being here. I know that Jan Metleiter might be here. I didn't see her come in. And then I was remiss this morning. I didn't mention that I had my executive vice president, Dr. Jeff Fox, is here with us today also. We're excited about where we are as a college at the College of Southern Idaho. We're excited about community colleges in general. We've talked about what is happening at the community college as far as enrollment on a statewide basis. We are up 6 times the growth rate of the state of Idaho over the past 4 years. Now, a lot of that's due to this gentleman on my right. Well, maybe not exactly him, but CWI and the growth that has happened there. But all 3 of your community colleges have seen substantial growth, and we are planning on that growth maybe slowing down a little bit as people start back to work, the unemployment rate starts coming down. But our work is cut out for us to make sure that as we start seeing improvement in the economy, that we have a trained workforce that will allow these companies to be successful and be able to expand in Idaho, as well as recruiting some new companies to the state. We're proud in the Twin Falls area. We're down to a 6.1 unemployment rate now. A lot of that's due to a major manufacturer that moved in. We are now the yogurt capital of the world with Chobani. And that is the largest yogurt plant in the world. And to give you an idea of how large that plant is, if anybody's been in the Magic Valley Mall in Twin Falls, that plant is 10 times larger than our mall. To give you an idea, and it was built in less than 1 year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my good colleague here to my right.
Thank you, Jerry. Senator
Go
Getty.
ahead.
Senator Getty and senators of the Education Committee, thank you very much for changing your format. This is a great opportunity for us to have a discussion and not talk at you, but talk with you and get your concerns and questions out. I am so thrilled that Chobani has gone into Twin because it has added a great deal of culture to the Twin area. I worked on that since JFAC this morning. I've been working on that whole drill.
President Glandon, I'm guessing that there's also a certain byproduct that comes from the production of yogurt and other products that adds to the
I'm not going
the
there,
culture.
Senator. I do want to thank my board chair, Stan Bastian, board members, Mark Dunham, and board members Gordon Browning for being here today. And believe me, I will tell you that we were so thrilled we had in-service last Wednesday. And it was a momentous occasion for us, not just because we were having our in-service. We had over 300 people there, but we were celebrating also, for those of you that may not have known, Mark Dunham, a year ago to the date, had been at our in-service and literally had a headache and went over to St. Alphonse. And if you didn't know, suffered 2 major strokes and is with us today. And we are so thrilled to have him back on board with us. Very briefly, CWI has broken every national record about growth, but it's really not about growth. And that's why it's great for us to come and just have a conversation before you. It's about the fact that the number of students we're serving is only one part of it. How we're serving the students and the kind of impact that we're having in the areas is amazing. We organized ourselves also so that one complete division at the College of Western Idaho is for business partnerships and workforce development. And literally, when we got through with the JFAC presentation this morning, I was driving out of the parking lot to go to another meeting before I came back. I was contacted by Jeff Sayre, the director of the Department of Commerce, and we had a half-hour conversation. We're working on helping recruit a company to come into this area that's going to bring 150 employees in, and how quickly could we put a training program together, and could we have it that we could have 150 people trained within the next 6 to 9 months. Within an hour and a half, we had that conversation. We've got it in place, and we're moving forward. We're going to meet with the company no later than Monday next week. So this is the kinds of things that community colleges do, and my colleagues will sit here with you. The stories we have are staggering as far as the kinds of students we're handling, and the stories about what the college does for the local community is what community colleges are all about, whether they're in North Idaho, whether they're in Twin, or whether they're in Boise. And with that, I would pass it to my colleague to the right, President Dunlap.
Thank you, Bert.
Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Senator Getty, and senators of the Education Committee for the Senate. Appreciate the opportunity. I'd like to introduce to you some of our trustees and folks that came down from the Northland to visit Boise. Our trustees here today are our chair, Ken Howard. We've got our vice chair, Judy Meyer. Our two new trustees, Ron Nilsson and Todd Banducci.
Welcome.
In addition, we have our faculty president who is here, Kathy O'Brien, and we're very pleased that she's here to provide a faculty perspective and voice. And then two vice presidents. We have Graydon Stanley, who defected from CSI to move to the warmer part of Idaho. And then we have with us Mark Browning, who used to work for the State Board for Higher Education, and we're very pleased to have them on board as well. North Idaho College has been in existence since 1933. It's the oldest college in the state, and next year we'll be celebrating our 80th anniversary. This past year, we have served 6,004 credit students, 4,500 seniors, 351 Head Start students, over 6,000 students in our Workforce Training Center, and many others. The net result is in that the northern 5 counties of Idaho, we have touched over 19,000 students. So we've made a significant impact. And we've done that through a variety of delivery methodologies. One is that we have 3 outreach centers, one in Bonners Ferry, one in Sandpoint, and one in the Silver Valley. And we've placed emphasis on increasing our dual credit and distance learning for those students that are hard to reach and may live in rural areas. And so it's a pleasure to be here today and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you all for your presentations. I think this is a great format. It gives us the opportunity to ask questions of each of our panel. Questions of the committee.
Mr. Chairman, just as a comment, I had the privilege of listening to these 3 college presidents this morning in JFAC along with Senator Thane, and there is some very good information that I think will generate some questions in the information that they've given us, particularly when it comes to some enrollment numbers and all of those things. So just as a reminder to the committee, glance through that and it'll help generate, I think, some questions. But I will start with a question, if I could, Mr. Chairman. I would like to ask each of the college presidents to please address professional technical just a little bit. I know that's one of your missions, and the professional technical funding. And I'm concerned. I'm interested. I don't know if I've got a concern yet, but I'm interested to know where the cost of professional technical is in relationship to colleges and the universities. So if I take a mechanic or a auto body repair class or a technical drafting course, if I take it at each of your institutions, what is the cost to the student? Is it the same or is it different? And I think it's different. And so I would like to address that, and then have you address the fact that, a good portion of that funding is coming from federal funds, and how that fits into your overall funding model, if I could, please.
And gentlemen, go ahead and choose your order.
Well,
The oldest president.
Looking.
Most senior president.
Most senior president.
well, thank you for your question, Senator Mortimer. Coming to higher education 38 years ago, I came as a technical instructor. And so it's in my background, it's in my roots. And I would tell you that most of the community colleges across this country have some sort of technical education in their role and mission. The difference in Idaho is that we have a state division for professional technical division in the state. That organization has K-12 as well as post-secondary responsibilities. Their post-secondary responsibilities was divided up to 6 area vocational technical schools. And we at CSI are fortunate to have one of those. That's an assignment from the state division, and so are the other 2 community colleges. We are given a great deal of latitude with the funds that we are given from PTE, as long as the programs that we are offering are below the bachelor's degree level and they lead to employment. We are required to have 70% graduation out of those programs, and out of that 70%, 90% placement is kind of the standard that we look at from those programmed areas. As far as the fee basis, each of the institutions are, they set their tuition and fees by their board of trustees. Currently, the College of Southern Idaho is $110. I think NIC is about $115, $117, $119, and CWI is $139,
139.
136. And one would ask, why is the difference? Well, we receive different amounts of support in other areas. And what we try to do is, once we receive our appropriation from the JFAC committee for pretty much the academic side of our educational institutions, we receive our appropriation from the professional technical division, then we look at what are our needs to be able to fill out the budget and make it work. Each of the colleges have different situations each year. My situation this year is I had not only to finish up with C3, which was a major recruitment effort last year in training those people, but we also have Shabanti this year. Plus, we have a number of industries in our particular area that were asking for some help in training their workforce. And so we would look at what money do we have available, where can we use it, what's legal to use that money for, and then we would go to our students based upon a recommendation to our board for the balance between what we're getting from the state, what we're getting from the local taxing districts, and make the budget whole. That being said, that has been a very difficult situation for all of us in the past 5 years due to the situation the state has been in. Up till then, state funding has been relatively straight line across for years and years and years. High water mark for CSI was about 49% state funding, and we hit our low water mark 2 years ago at about 32%. At that same time, student funding went from 17%. I used to tell students that they didn't pay enough to cover the electric bill, to now they pay almost 36% of the total cost of education. So I hope that answers your question. I think that the key there is that we have more demand for professional technical education than we can afford. I can tell you that if I could open another section of welding, to do that would cost me another full-time faculty member. We would run it in the evening or at midnight to 4 in the morning. But that is one of the things that we could use some help through PTE is capacity. And that's where we've been kind of stuck. Growing the academic side of the institution is much easier than growing the technical side.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman?
Do you want to let the other presidents answer first?
Only if they want to. No, just kidding.
No,
Go ahead.
that's okay if you want to do a follow-up.
Go ahead.
Whatever flows easiest.
Senator Mortimer.
In educate me for just a minute. I mean, I understand the funding model that we have from JFAC on PTE, but I'm not sure I understand how those monies are appropriated from the federal to the state. Is it per pupil, a grant, a full grant fund, so it's set and locked in? How would we get more money for PTE?
Senator Mortimer, it'd probably be better to ask the state director for PTE that question. I believe he has about 9% federal funds at this particular time. 14. We have been, as community colleges, quite frankly, we have been kind of asking previous directors about should we be funding on a historic perspective for PTE, or should we look at the needs across the state? And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I can tell you that from my standpoint, we have too many auto body programs. We're training probably too many in that particular area. We probably need to move some of those funds into some new areas. We need to do that as we have the ability to move a faculty member from that particular area into retirement, or can we retrain them into another area? So that would be one way to be able to get some additional funds, is through reallocation ourselves. The second thing I would say is that based upon what is happening in each area of the state, we need to look at what are the current needs. I mean, in North Idaho, I'll speak for Joe, he's got an aircraft industry that's up and going, and it's a great one. But yet, a lot of the money for aircraft training is sitting in Pocatello. So what do we do?
Thank you very, very much.
Who's next? Go ahead.
Thank you, Senator Getty. Senator Mortimer, in terms of PTE funding and why it is different at the different institutions and why PTE is expensive, let me begin with the state funding. First of all, the funding for PTE in this state, 84% of it comes from the general fund of the state, 14% comes from the federal government through the form of Perkins funding, and 2% comes from other funds. Now, that Perkins funding is based on a formula of the number of students enrolled in professional technical programs and those students that are eligible for Pell Grants. So it's formula driven, and there is really nothing you can do to increase that rather than increasing the number of students that you have in those programs. When you look at the cost at the institutions, you'll find that we do charge different tuition rates, different fees for the programs, but there's several reasons for that. A program at one institution may use different supplies than institution in the north. And so the fee structure for supplies and equipment and replacement of equipment varies. And it's with that equipment and the supplies that makes those programs particularly expensive. Now, another dimension that contributes to that high cost, for example, at North Idaho College, is that our facilities are extremely old, they are very small, and we can only put 12 to 15 students in a class. We should be able to put 20 to 24 students, ideally, in a professional technical class. Now, in a liberal arts class or a general studies class, you can typically run 25 to 40 students, whereas we are limited by those facilities, and we can't create those facilities without some assistance. And so in terms of a cost per student, that becomes a very expensive model. The other thing that I want to mention with regard to cost is that in many states, they have differential tuition between PTE programs and the general studies programs. In this state, we don't. We've standardized the tuition at our institutions so that it equalizes out over time. And so from those perspectives, I think you can understand why there is a difference in cost, why PTE is more costly than other programs, and where we may need some assistance with that. Now, just by way of example, at North Idaho College, we receive $4 million out of that PTE funding from the state that is supposed to be all-inclusive and cover the total cost of our PTE programs. And it doesn't do that because over time, we are responsive to our community. We provide programs that are in demand to support business and industry. So we may start a program, but there is no new funding for that program. So, for example, we end up subsidizing our PTE allocation to almost the tune of $1 million a year so that we can meet those needs of business and industry within our community. Thank you.
President Glandon.
Chairman Getty and Senator Mortimer, thank you for the question. It's very good. Like President Beck, I've had the honor in my past to not only teach in the academic environment with management and supervision, but I was asked by Seattle Community College to actually write a restaurant equipment technology program that then was incorporated within their system. It is a unique experience to write in the professional technical area in terms of developing a program and starting it getting off the ground. CWI has been in a great situation where we inherited Selland College, which was at Boise State University. And in that transfer agreement from moving those students from Selland College out to the College of Western Idaho, our board had taken the position that we would move those programs and the faculty at their salaries and at the deliverance that they had, but that we would evaluate them at the end of the first year, which was a great opportunity for us to sit down and get at what you were really saying in terms of we looked at it on a 9-point evaluation process. How many students are in the program, how many graduate, how many go into the industry, how many are positively placed in the industry, what's their retention there, and then is it value added to the industry and teaching at the industry standard? And if not, then maybe we ought to take a look at it and figure out what we need to do differently. Can we get it to the industry standard? And we had 4 programs that we took serious in terms of saying, no, we're not teaching at the industry standard, we need to reevaluate them. It gave us the opportunity to go back out to business and industry and take a look at the technical advisory committees that all the community colleges have technical advisory committees that report through those specific programs, give them guidance and direction. And it gave us the opportunity to say, is this a really industry-driven type program that's value-added? If not, then what do we need to do to either make that or reallocate those resources? The cost is the $136 per credit, like in general education, but there are also, as have been mentioned previously, fees to the various programs. Welding obviously has a materials fees to it. We have auto body, auto tech that have materials fees to it. So those programs are more expensive in terms of operating them and serving the students. We also at CWI had a great opportunity with Albertsons Foundation remodeling 176,000 square foot building. We were able to move every program out of Selland College to twice or 3 times the square footage it was in before, which means that we can handle up to 25 to 30 students per program. In fact, one of the concerns from our machine tool instructor was that he needs skates because the room is so big now he can't get from one end to the other. And we've looked at these programs in terms of not only just the professional technical programs that were supported by the state board, but also in this new building that we're able to put these programs into, we've incorporated as one of our charges business and industry training, customized business and industry training attached to each one of those programs and outcome of that. That has helped tremendously in terms of this having a new facility that can be viewed as a regional training site for the professional technical skills.
Further questions? Senator Thane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Presidents, it's good to see you today again. I have a question along the same lines of professional technical. I guess I should confess that my first certification after coming out of secondary was dairy herdsman. So that's what I did for quite a few years. But I'm trying to get a better handle on the importance of professional technical versus academic. And so I don't know if you can answer this question, but do you know the percent of jobs? Because you track the number of jobs that students get in professional technical. I don't know if you track that in your academic subjects but do you have any idea of what jobs are created through professional technical versus what jobs are created through your transfer programs? Like,
Senator Getty, Senator Thane, we watched very closely as the Magic Valley went from a 1.9 unemployment rate to 10%. In fact, I think that may have been the largest percentage increase in Idaho or the United States. 70% of those people that were displaced out of work were making less than $25,000 a year. 70%. That told us very clearly that as we looked at putting that workforce back to work, we were not going to put them into engineering positions. We weren't going to make attorneys out of them. We weren't going to make doctors out of them. We needed to put programs and classes together that was short-term in nature, but would lead to employment. This is contrary to everything that we hear about graduation rates, because these people are going to be with us a very short period of time. But if they happen to be a first-time full-time student and they're there for one semester, they're into that count. That gives us a great deal of heartburn when we see our graduation rates at 17%, because we did what we thought we were supposed to do, which was we took 100 people, we trained them for 16 weeks or 8 weeks or 4 weeks, and we put them to work. So there's some things there that don't quite jive. When you talk about what is the mix in Idaho, all you got to do is look at the wages that we pay in Idaho. Look at the number of positions we have in Idaho. Look at the job openings in Idaho. In a recent meeting, when I was told that we just needed to do more computer software engineers, I got on the phone in the meeting, my 2 colleagues were there, and I Googled that. In Twin Falls, I needed 2 engineers. One was a sanitation engineer, and the other one was an engineer for the National Guard. And yet I was being told in this meeting that we were not putting enough resources towards training engineering. I know that board member Ron Nielsen's in the background. He's got some great stories about what he needs at his corporation. If we go over to the Blackfoot area and look at what has happened there with the large manufacturer there, we have in this state a disproportional amount of higher education at the higher level, from my opinion and from what I'm hearing and seeing from Department of Labor, and also what we see from our students. I don't have a waiting list in my academic classes. If I do, I just open one. It's not a big thing. I hire a part-time teacher at $800 a credit, and I get another English section. I get another math section. I can't do that in the professional technical area. It's much more difficult. And yet that's where we will be putting people to work.
Gentlemen.
Chairman Getty and Senator Thane, just coming back from a national conference, I would tell you there's a national trend. There's a 45-year history, 50-year history of inverse relationship between employment and enrollment in colleges. And quite frankly, for the first time in the history of America, it's broken. The unemployment would go up, and quite frankly, they're not going to school at the same rate. They can't afford to. And in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, shelter, clothing is becoming a major issue in terms of meeting that need, which means that in a lot of our professional technical programs, they're looking at, can I get trained in 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9 months, and get a job and get out in the workforce. We, like the community colleges, have always portrayed ourselves and have been literally on the national scene as agile, flexible, adaptable, and quick with a sense of urgency to respond to those kinds of needs. CWI is actually 3/4 academic transfer. But I think we're an anomaly because, quite frankly, people had been waiting for CWI to be established. And we had a huge throng of students just burgeoning into the campus to get basic academics. Our professional technical programs are driven by and will continue to be driven by business and industry and the local need. But again, the local need is the local need, and it varies greatly from North Idaho to southeastern Idaho to southwestern Idaho. But that is one of the kinds of situations. It takes time and energy to put various programs together, and we do have the sense of urgency and the flexibility to make that adaptation. Just like between JFAC meeting this morning and this meeting this afternoon, we meet with the Department of Commerce. We're putting in place a 3 to 6 month training program for 150 people. And that's what it's going to take, I think, in our future trends of what's going on.
President Dunlap.
Senator Getty, Senator Thane. Just some quick numbers that reflect your question in terms of the number of students that transfer versus the number of students that would complete a professional technical program and go on to the world of work. The programs we have at North Idaho College include 42 transfer programs for four-year institutions. We have 39 professional technical programs, so there's a fair balance there. And in terms of the number of students that have graduated and gone on, last year, 548 of our students graduated with a transfer degree and transferred to a four-year institution. And 493 of our students graduated with either a degree or certificate in a professional technical area.
Thank you. Senator Nonini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Presidents.
Good afternoon.
I recently read a report that Idaho ranks pretty well, good grades in recruiting new businesses to the state, but has just about failing grades in retention of those businesses. Wondered if each of you could just take a brief moment and discuss what you might be doing, not in the fact of recruiting a Chobani or a new business, but what are you doing to assist existing businesses here that they stay successful?
Who wants to start?
Who would like to start?
Gee, being the old timer just doesn't pay. No time to think. Just gotta, yeah. We do cold calling of businesses in the Magic Valley area. We walk out, knock on their door, ask what is their needs, what's happening. What we find right now, as far as closures in our particular area, it generally has to do with the decision that's made outside of Idaho. The company's been purchased by another company. They've made a decision that they have to downsize based upon that purchase to pay it off, and that where their market is at versus where Idaho is at and where our existing facility is at, they need to close that and move. We saw that in the potato industry particularly, which was a heartbreak for us, seeing as how we're king in potatoes, but we saw many of our potato processing plants move to the Washington, Oregon, Tri-Cities area. And that was predominantly corporate decisions about that they were going to centralize, modernize those plants, and that's where they chose to put those. That's the major one that I can think of in our particular area that we've lost. However, that being said, I think that we have been able to adjust in many of the areas. I remember not long ago, we had an issue with more business forms. We were able to keep them an additional 10 years due to the fact that we had some issues with taxing situations that they were under, equipment that they needed to bring in and what they were going to have to pay for that equipment to come in, how we could possibly work with them to make that work out through training. Again, we allowed them, or they did make the decision to stay an additional 10 years. We did lose them. Then we put Hylex Poly in that particular building, which is a plastics company. I think that your question is a good question. What are we doing to keep the existing businesses that we have in Idaho here in Idaho? But I think we also have to understand that business is very dynamic right now. The life expectancy of businesses, the products that need to change, is not unlike what we're seeing in education. And what once worked and once sold may not be here for tomorrow, or may not be here 3 years ago. So there's going to be a bit of that that's just going to take place. But it shouldn't take place because we didn't respond, we didn't train a workforce, we didn't have a tax situation that was fair and equitable to all. So I would say that we just all have to pay attention. We do it by having cold calling. We talk about being out on environmental scan. And that's not faculty on the golf course. That's out talking to the industries and asking them what are their needs. What do we need to do for you to be able to hire just one more, particularly right now?
Gentlemen.
Chairman Getty and Senator Nonini, again, another good question in that we have a complete division in the College of Western Idaho, and obviously we're the newest with the least history of what's going on. We have 5 people that work full-time that are out there working with the various industry sectors trying to anticipate what, 5, yes. Could have 6. that are out there working full-time to make sure that we're making these kinds of contacts. One of the examples I would use is that XL Beef about a year ago went to close, and there was over 800 employees. We were notified on a Friday. We had a team together on Saturday. We had a replacement program in place Sunday, and Monday we were meeting with XL Beef to salvage those 800 employees and keep them in the Western Treasure Valley area. That's one of the things in a reactive sense that we've done just in this last year in terms of helping keep the people into the area and keep the workforce here. We have over 100 different companies that we're working with right now in the Western Treasure Valley. And because of the Micron Center, it has positioned us to work with local business and industry like Western Trailer. AGCO is the largest producer of agriculture equipment. They're doing all their regional training now at the Micron Center. Western Trailer is now doing their regional training at the Micron Center. And this is making sure that businesses aren't just surviving, that they're actually becoming successful within the region to help them grow. We are adding probably every month 3 or 4 new businesses that's working with us in terms of their training and retraining in the region out of the Micron Center, which has been a huge advantage in terms of serving the local business and industry. We will continue it. We view it as a part of our mission to be working with local business and industry, not only just for survival's sake, but actually how to make them successful and expand and be competitive.
President Dunlap.
Thank you, Senator Getty, Senator Nonini. In terms of what North Idaho does to help retain businesses, I will admit that we are not as good as we should be. But I will tell you this, that we are certainly getting better at it. And let me give you a few examples. I've met with the CEOs of the 3 hospitals, the 3 major hospitals in North Idaho. And through that process, they've identified several critical shortages that they need for their workforce. And we've been working very diligently to put those types of programs in place. So, for example, they have expressed an interest in physical therapy assistant. And the 3 community colleges, as well as Lewis Clark State College, have formed a coalition to develop that particular program, and we are going through an accreditation process right now to achieve candidacy. In addition, they've talked about medical assistance program. We just went through at North Idaho College an accreditation process for that program, and it is in place, and we intend on expanding that program. We've been told that in the next 2 years there will be a critical shortage of lab technicians in North Idaho as well as Eastern Washington. And so we are looking to put in place a medical lab technician program as well as a billing and coding program for our healthcare professions. In addition, the aerospace industry in North Idaho, which is relatively unknown, is actually a fairly robust industry, and it has corporations such as Tamarack, Quest Aviation, Cygnus, and Aeroset, Atlas Spring, and others. And so last year, North Idaho College took an RFP from Department of Labor and requested funding to support that aerospace industry and even attract more aerospace industry to Idaho. And in October, North Idaho College was awarded $2.9 million to support that industry that included non-destructive training, or non-destructive testing training. It included improving our advanced manufacturing program, and it includes aircraft assembly certificate training as well. Then lastly, what I want to mention is an entrepreneurship program that was started with funding from the Avista Corporation, which is the utilities organization in North Idaho. There was an entrepreneurship program that started at Spokane Community College. It was extremely successful, and Avista decided to fund that up and export it to 3 other community colleges, North Idaho College being one of those. They put $1 million on the table, $100,000 for each college to adopt the curriculum, and $500,000 to be available for microloans for those entrepreneurs that had exceptional ideas that may need a little seed money to get things going. Now, an area that we've been asked to support business and industry is with our professional technical programs in some of our outreach centers. Now, our outreach centers happen to be in counties outside of our tax district, but are part of our college district, the 5 northern counties that we've been charged to support by the legislature. And so that becomes a rather hot potato item when you are asked to put those expensive professional technical programs at a location outside of your tax district to support business and industry in those areas. And although that's a hot potato, we are in the process of doing that. We have put some programs out in the Silver Valley to support the mining industry that was decimated a few years ago. In Sandpoint, we've been asked to bring career and technical programs there. We haven't yet, but they have offered up facilities for us at no cost to provide those programs. So those are some of the initiatives that North Idaho College has in place to support business and industry to help attract and retain those industries. Thank you.
Senator Fulcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, we're going to change subjects a little bit because I used to get a lot of inquiries from constituents in regard to articulation agreements. And at least in my legislative district, those inquiries, requests for help have fallen off quite a bit. So that's a sign, at least to me, that things are getting better on that front. But could you maybe just give us an update on how that's going? Is there further problem areas? And if so, what are they? And how would you classify the status of just articulation between your organizations, the universities, and vice versa?
President Dunlap.
Senator Getty, Senator Fulcher, at North Idaho College, within our higher education campus, we are co-located with LCSC and University of Idaho. And we have exceptionally good working relationships with those two institutions and articulation agreements. Right now, about 500 students from North Idaho College are being served by LCSC through those articulation agreements where students have transferred. But looking at articulation from another perspective, we have KTEC, which is the Kootenai Technical Area Education Center, that is a K-12 professional technical facility located in Kootenai County. And our faculty have been working very hard with the faculty from KTEC to make sure that those students who complete a course of study at KTEC can transfer with some credit into North Idaho College. The problem we have at North Idaho College is not the articulation, it's we don't have the space to put those individuals because our career and technical facilities are so old and so small that when KTEC graduates its first class in about 4 months with about 500 students, the question is going to be, where are those students going to go? And capacity is our issue, not articulation. We believe articulation is working extremely well.
Chairman Getty, Senator Fulcher, I'm assuming you're talking about articulation between the community colleges and universities. I can tell you that only being back in the state for 3 years, it was a real, CSI had done a wonderful job in the Boise and in the Western Treasure Valley area. And we literally, within the first year and a half of operating at CWI, we had transcripted articulation agreements with every public university within the first year and a half that we were operating. And we have several with the private schools that are around us as well. I've never worked anywhere where that has worked so smoothly or so efficiently or so quickly. And I truly think that that's because CSI had done a lot of groundwork before we were ever invented or brought on board. I don't know what area, I apologize, I don't know what area you're from, but if it's in the Western Treasure Valley, I think we have had a major impact in terms of moving over 9,000 students quickly through the system with direct transcript transfer agreements in place with every public university. BSU, we work with University of Idaho and Idaho State as well, but BSU, quite frankly, we have been talking about a single application format for our students, so that students that can apply at CWI and at the same time have finished the application for BSU transfer, because because of our close proximity, there is a relationship there much stronger than it has ever been in the past.
Senator Patrick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Senator Getty.
I'm so used to you starting.
Yes. We are particularly pleased about the progress that has been made with articulation, and I'd take my hats off to the four-year institutions, particularly the vice presidents of each of those institutions, that I can tell you that as I was serving as a vice president, if I would call any one of them and tell them about an articulation problem we had, it was pretty well resolved. And that didn't happen in the 80s and the 90s. And I think through the 2000s, we had a bit of holdover just of people having those bad experiences. I can tell you that the biggest issue we have now, and I'll go back to engineering again, we have 3 engineering schools here. We have one at Moscow, one at Boise, and one at Idaho State. The first 2 years of those engineering programs are not the same. And so as a community college, I've got to figure out how to run 3 first 2-year programs so that we have articulation depending upon where the student goes. If the student makes the wrong choice, or I shouldn't say the wrong choice, if they change their mind of where they're going, then we have some articulation problems still. That is probably the biggest one I see now. I think the other thing that we will see is we will see more articulation between the community colleges than we've ever seen before. And a lot of that has to do with jobs transferring and where jobs are at and that type of thing, and people starting a program and then needing to continue on. And I think that we have worked really hard with that particular area. It's very natural for CWI and CSI because basically they had to adopt all of our curriculum to be accredited by us. Now, as he gets his freedom in a year to 2 years from now, controlling him will be a whole different issue. Now, Joe and I just have, enough respect for one another. We try to work it out, but I don't know how this is going to work out with Bert.
Chairman.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, it's not you so much, the collective you that concerns me, or that we've had concerns about. I do get feedback from the various universities and from specific situations with students where there are those circumstances that come up where it's a problem, and I still think that it's potentially a problem between the four-year institutions as well. But it sounds like things are good and getting better. I just want to make sure that you're aware that there's still feedback, at least from my part of the state, that is contrary periodically.
Senator
Go ahead.
Getty, Senator Faulkner, I would encourage that this committee make a statement as how important articulation is. Currently, the state board has said that people who finish an associate degree at the community college level will be accepted in as junior standing into the major that they got their associate degree in at the universities. That works really well. But we need to make sure that everybody understands that that's kind of the lay of the land. Competition for students is going to get more critical as we see more and more online instruction for those students who want to transfer and have the campus experience. And I think that it's important that we all continue to say that transfer is an important item and we expect it to happen.
Go ahead, President.
Senator Getty, Chairman Getty, Senator Fulcher, let me also, having spent 10 years in Colorado before I came back to Idaho, we had legislation, and I just caution you that we had legislation in Idaho that was 60 plus 60. It was a guarantee that students that finished 60 credits at the community college would go in with those 60 credits into the university, any one of the public universities. The dilemma with that was that all 60 credits transferred. Not necessarily all 60 credits applied to a degree, which means they could spend 60 credits at a community college, go into the University of Colorado, and they'd need another 80 or 90 credits to graduate. So, and there's no real reason for that to happen except, as President Beck was mentioning, the economics of the issue. It truly is not in the student's best interest, and there is a way for us to collaborate effectively and efficiently that every 60 credit actually, if the student knows where they're going. The real problem is many students don't know where they're going or they change. And then therefore there is a reshuffling of credits that has to occur.
Senator Fulcher, I'd suggest that there's an opportunity for a resolution. Senator Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That answered a little bit of my question, but my question is for all three presidents, knowing this is a policy committee, not a budgeting committee, what can we do to help make our community colleges more efficient and more effective? If you have ideas, this would be the place to say them.
President Beck.
Senator Getty, Senator Patrick, I think that one of the elephants in the room are what are we going to do with out-of-district fees? As we, as community colleges, continue to get more heavily engaged in dual credit and serving students across this state, and we see more and more counties having a difficulty in paying that out-of-county fee because we're past the 50% of the liquor funds. Some case we're past all of their liquor funds. That is going to continue to get more of an issue. More and more counties each year are falling into that situation. It started in the Magic Valley because we had significant number of off-campus centers to begin with, but then we really hit the dual credit thing hard. We have counties that are paying over $1 million or right at $1 million a year. That's taking their entire liquor budget and some. I know that CWI has caused a significant issue in Jim County. And I think that NIC is starting to hear from their counties also that are not in the taxing district. The good news is, quite frankly, that when you explain to those people that they have a choice, they can join the district. When CWI was formed, what a lot of people don't know is it cost the College of Southern Idaho about $200,000. Because when they formed their district, I can no longer charge Ada and Canyon County students out-of-district fees because they are paying into a community college. Yet we have unique programs that we have students from Ada and Canyon County in. We whined a little bit about that, but we moved on. There are several counties in the state now that are substantially upside down, and with this other giant elephant in the room about inventory or property tax and what we're going to do there, it even heightens this awareness right now. So one of the things I think that the committee could help us with is ideas on how do we solve this issue. Keep in mind that the out-of-county fees have not changed in 40-plus years. And I think that it's going to be time that we're going to have that discussion.
Dunlap.
Thank you, Senator Getty and Senator Patrick. I totally agree with the assessment by Jerry Beck, and that's been an issue with our trustees as well in terms of how we fund programs, and particularly with regard to our outreach centers. And I mentioned that a little bit earlier. And that becomes a particularly a contentious issue when you have one county in our example paying the taxes and then the other four counties not. And so then when you serve those students, how do you provide equity? And that is a major issue. Another policy issue, though, that we've been working on collectively is to try and do some standardization in the things that we do. And so let me give you a couple of examples. One is the voluntary framework of accountability. And what that is a system that has been designed by the Association of Community Colleges, by community colleges, to set up a system that tracks students so that we are all speaking the same language, we are measuring the same results, and we can tell the same story. The three community colleges are working together to try and standardize that. And from a policy perspective, I think that makes eminent sense. In addition, we have just begun to explore how we offer dual credit in this state from the community colleges and try to standardize that somewhat, because the way we currently do it is different. And that makes a difference depending on where your location is, depending on what your tuition level is. And so we've begun to look at how to standardize those, that particular initiative. So as you look at policy initiatives related to higher education, whether it's standardizing how articulation is done, standardizing how dual credit is delivered, or how fees are handled, it makes eminent sense for the citizenry of this state to provide those kinds of standardizations. And we've tried to do that working together, but I think a statement from this committee as well encourages greater standardization, maybe even between the community colleges and the universities in terms of how we do our business, better serve our citizenry, and become more efficient.
Chairman Getty and Senator Patrick, my understanding is there's 44 counties in the state of Idaho and only 5 pay property tax to the community colleges. Simply put, that's going to be a dilemma coming up, and like CWI being formed, we're the 800-pound gorilla in the room, where we're going to have 9 counties that are eight more counties beyond the 2 that we're serving right now that are expecting services. And it's creating a dynamic where we love the people in Gem County, but we've already got them upside down as far as their liquor tax funds. And it's going to happen, the more accessible we are, the more that's going to happen to the other counties around the region.
I didn't hear any return love from Jim County.
I'm just putting it out there.
Let me follow up along those same lines of questioning. What percentage of your maintenance and operation comes from property tax?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure that I can give you that. Do you know, of the property tax we get, how much actually goes to it?
How much of your M&O budget comes from property taxes?
Oh, the dollar figure or the percentage?
Percentage.
The percentage in, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Getty, the percentage in Ada and Canyon County is now, it started out at 13.8%, and because of inflation and various things, it's up to 18%. It generates about $6 million. And my understanding is that our Board of Trustees, when we were formed, actually did due diligence and researched it carefully. And I will be corrected if I don't have this quoted right, but Twin Falls and Jerome, actually they're at $90 per 100,000.
88.
$88 per 100,000 of property tax. It generates about the same amount of money that our 18% does in Ada and Canyon County. And North Idaho's Kootenai County is approximately $95 per 100,000. And it generates approximately 14.8 million.
The other 2 presidents, what percentage?
Mr. Chair, for North Idaho College, it's 32%. And that results in $14.8 million.
President Beck?
I don't know, Chairman
Okay.
Getty.
If you get that back to me.
I can.
And here's the issue I'm getting to. When College of Western Idaho was formed, the state legislature realized that in its infancy it needed some enhanced funding, and that's how it started. I think CSI and North Idaho College pretty much are on the same track as far as funding with the state. But we have 2 institutions as part of their function, both ISU and LCSC, of delivering traditional community college roles. And then we have another institution, Eastern Idaho Technical College, that has no property tax portion of their funding. And I think this legislature needs to find a way to level that out so that community college functions are offered on an equal basis. I'm not sure how, and I would look forward to suggestions from you gentlemen. And you don't have to do that now, but at some point during the session, and maybe you do it collectively.
Mr. Chairman, I do have that figure. It was in my presentation. It's 16.9.
Thank you. Senator Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to know from each one of the presidents how many dual credit students you are presently involved with. And then the second part of that question is, I'd like to know is, are you presently, how does the money come from the counties through the alcohol fund on the dual credit students? Are you all getting money, each school, from that?
Go ahead, Mr. President.
Senator Getty, Senator Pierce, at North Idaho College, last year we served 678 dual credit students. This year we're up 50%, and that is a major priority for us in terms of growing. We do not receive anything from the liquor tax with regard to those students. We charge $65 per credit hour per student, and that's the revenue that's charged for dual credit.
Chairman Getty, Senator Pierce, CWI served 516 dual credit students this last semester. That's a 44% increase from last year. We charge the same $65 per credit. Nothing comes out of the liquor fund for those dual credit students.
President Beck.
President Getty, we serve approximately 2,200 students in dual credit. We charge $65 per credit, but we have students outside of our district. As you will see in the book, we serve a statewide population, so we have students. In fact, President from LCSC told me I had one in Lewiston, and that was one too many. He was planning on taking care of that right away. But we do charge the $50 for out-of-county billings on those students, keeping in mind that we have to provide the same level of instruction in all of those areas, so we have people on the road actually working with those school districts.
Senator Durst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Presidents, I guess just going back to the discussion on the taxing districts, I know that just prior to the legislative session, we had a Chamber of Commerce event, and all the Treasure Valley Chamber of Commerces got together, and the Chamber of Commerce from Gem County was talking about problems with workforce development. And after the meeting, I got up and told them, I said, you guys could join the taxing district and be part of CWI, and we'd have services right there for you. And they're like, oh, really? Well, that's an option. And so I guess thinking about this in terms of the question that Senator Fulcher first asked about policy prescriptions, I guess policy is not always the issue. Sometimes it's a communication issue. And I'm wondering if you all have gone to the county commissioners in the counties that you're serving nearby and urge them to think about, putting something to a vote that would maybe reduce their overall burden if they're a part of the district.
Go ahead, President Dunlap.
Senator Getty, Senator Durst, in fact, I have been to one of our counties and met with individuals to talk about becoming part of our tax district. We agreed that it was too soon to do that, and there is a group of citizens that are willing to take on that charge for us, but we needed to grow our programs, move into a new facility, and meet the needs of that community first. And so the answer is yes, we've had that discussion, and it requires a simple majority vote to annex into the tax district.
Chairman Getty and Senator Durst, prior to President Dunlap coming to the state, my board chair, Mr. Stan Bastian, and Jerry Beck, and I was trying to think who else went to the meeting. We met with the counties, the commissioners, county commissioners at their statewide meeting, and presented a fairly significant proposal and made everybody aware of the possibilities of what could have occurred. And in fact, I think there was even a follow-up meeting with the cities, because the counties thought maybe the cities ought to pay, and as opposed to the counties paying, and then the cities thought the counties ought to pay, and opposed to the cities, and we got so confused we came home. And you want to follow up on
President Beck.
Chairman Getty and Senator Durst, we are in a very unique position in the College of Southern Idaho. The co-chairs of JFAC, Representative Bell, is in a taxing district, Jerome County. Senator Cameron is not in a taxing district, and yet Minidoka County is one of those ones that I was talking about that pay more than their total liquor fund. I don't know how, when they sit together up there, when this issue comes up, how the conversation goes, but many times I would like to be kind of a mouse in the corner. I did ask Senator Cameron this morning if he was prepared to join the taxing district. I can tell you that we have met with county commissioners throughout the area. If you would take the rate of inflation and place it on the $50 a credit over the last 40 years, it would be to where they would have to join. It would be a cost savings. But currently, it is not a cost savings. And we serve a lot of students in Cassia and Minidoka County. A lot of students, have a very large center there. Until that becomes a cost-effective move, I can't see that the people in the county would vote themselves into a taxing district in the current economic climate that we're in. This is even after we have been very substantially responsible for many of the new industries that have went into what we call the mini cash area. And yet the appetite to join that taxing district, I think, is a little bit on the lackluster side. I like to come home and feel good about myself, and I'm not for sure after a county commissioner meeting proposing that would be what they would want to do this next year, I would have a lot of success because it would raise their fees. The good side of that is that it would be a levy, and therefore it would free up their liquor funds. Keep in mind that Twin Falls and Jerome and the other 3 counties have all of their liquor funds to do something else with.
Gentlemen, I'd like to ask you another question, very, very close to the same line of thought, and that deals with remote campuses. And I think each of you has kind of developed a different theory of delivery to the district outside your taxing area. I guess number one, do those remote campuses financially stand on their own, or are you taxing the taxpayers within your taxing districts to offer that service? And number two, do you have any idea what we'd have to raise the current per head charge that we give counties to make it equitable? And that would be within your normal, not your remote necessarily.
I will start. We've had
Everyone jumped right on that.
Senator Getty, we have had off-campus centers now for 25 years. And I can tell you that we have one off-campus center that, quite frankly, does very well, and that's the Mini-Cassia Center. It does, in fact, put revenue back to the campus, but we don't charge off expenditures from the campus to that center. So we don't charge off a proration of my salary, a proration of advising, and that type of thing. The Gooding Center, it's depending upon what programs we have running that year, whether it's cost-effective or not. The Wood River Valley has been in the black for about the last 10 years. The first 3 to 4 years it was not. So overall, if we take our off-campus centers, we are okay. We were not in the beginning, but we are now. In the foreseeable future, I think we will stay okay until we start taking professional technical programs to those centers. And as President Dunlap has stated, we are under a great deal of pressure to do that. Our first one is a partnership that I shared this morning with JFAC. We're doing a partnership with a truck driving program over in the Mini-Cash area. One of the reasons why we went the way we did was we could start it very quickly, but I didn't have the capital cost of buying the trucks and the cost that would go along with starting that program up. This is the only way I could figure out how to do it and keep it on a cost-effective basis.
I'll go last.
Senator Getty, North Idaho College, we have 3 outreach centers, one at Bonners Ferry, one at Sandpoint, and one in Silver Valley. And in addition, we deliver services to St. Mary's and to the Plummer area. And JFAC this morning asked about the cost of operating those centers, and I didn't have the figures at that point in time, but I promised the committee that I would provide those, and so I have staff working on those numbers as we speak. From my perspective, those centers do not pay for themselves as they stand. And once we get those numbers in, we'll see where that is, and would be happy to provide that to this committee as well. The philosophy, though, is that we've been charged to deliver education, provide access to the 5 northern counties in Idaho. And so you can take 2 approaches to that. You can withdraw and say we can't afford to do that, and you citizenry will suffer for that. Or you can say we have a moral obligation to provide access and education to our citizens, and we take it out of our hide in spite of some of the political fallout. Now, North Idaho College is the only college that has 1 county supporting that tax base. The other 2 institutions have 2 counties, and that's why you'll find the percentage of our MNO considerably higher than in the other 2 institutions. And so it's a it's a tension-filled issue. There's no question about it. But I believe we've got a moral obligation to provide that access and education to our citizens and to help reach the community, the Complete College Idaho goals.
President Glandon.
I just can't refuse. There's
Jump in.
just something the devil is making me do here. Joel, I'll trade you some of that culture that President Glandon says that I have just for that lake.
Chairman Getty, as you are probably well aware, CWI is in 9 locations. We're just trying to build out the single campus we have. We do serve in the other 9 counties that surround us, to the west of us, but we do it through community-based operations, and it is we don't have any sites, outreach sites. We have locations where we're offering coursework and various types of programs on a cost-effective basis.
Gentlemen, the second half of my question dealt with the $500 and where it would have to go. None of you offered a number.
$750.
Now, is that a swag, or is that is there some data to support that?
There's some data to support that.
Senator Getty, in North Idaho, we would encourage people to drink more for the liquor distribution fund.
President Glandon, you're not going to touch that, are you?
I'm sorry.
Further questions of the committee? Senator Mortimer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a follow-up, very quick follow-up on that. So you're telling me that basically the cost difference between those students that are in and those students that are out, based on an average cost per credit hour, is about $200, $250.
If I,
Go ahead.
Chairman Getty, Senator Mortimer, I think what we're missing here, though, is what programs are being offered out there. Because if we move into professional technical programs, they are very cost prohibitive. And if we're going to move an automotive program, or if we're going to move a heavy-duty diesel program out to Fruitland or out to some other area, $500,000 will, nothing will, I mean, it would be a major, if we didn't have a business and industry that was partnering with us to help us do that, it would be cost prohibitive to even do it. When you talk about delivering general education, or a classroom type programming, or online programming, or those kinds of things, there is a differential that would occur. But I think my colleague presidents here would agree. You start talking about certain programs, and it just becomes cost prohibitive to take them outside of a certain area.
President Dunlap.
Senator Getty, if I might suggest, the 3 community college presidents, as well as the chair for their boards, have been working together on a number of issues. And what I would suggest is that prior to settling on a specific number, you allow us to gather some data, have some discussion, do our homework, and come back with a reasonable figure for you.
And Presidents, I'd suggest that you might look at a differential number between professional technical and academic as well. Right. Further questions? Senator Thane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One short question. You're increasing your dual enrollment students. Could you comment just briefly on how well those students are doing once they get to the campus overall, or even versus the students that don't take the dual enrollment classes?
Back.
Senator Getty, Senator Thane, I just want to I'll go back to the previous subject for 1 second. We do not collect out-of-county fees for professional technical programs. It's only academic programs. So when we take a professional technical program out of county, we do not bill the counties.
Yet that's the more expensive program.
Yes, it is. Senator Thane, now to answer your question. I need you to repeat it. I'm sorry.
How well do dual credit students do?
We do have data on that now, and we know for a fact that dual credit students have a better persistence rate. They do not drop out, and they graduate quicker at the College of Southern Idaho. We know that for a fact, and that matches up with national data that's being doled out now also.
Chairman Getty and Senator Thane, same, we're under their system, so the same data is coming forward same way.
President Dunlap.
Senator Getty, Senator Thane, we find that the students who are dual enrolled are doing much better than the general students who matriculate into the college because they've had that early collegiate opportunity. They are often higher performing students, and they often are more motivated students.
Senator Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have troubles with this little switch. Mine's just more of a comment than anything else. I'd like to see the tax base spread among surrounding counties, which would help all the way across. However, I do talk to people in the surrounding counties in my area, and it would never pass the vote of the people without some board representation. It just wouldn't happen.
Good comment. Any comments from you gentlemen?
Chairman Getty, Senator Patrick, I'm thinking, this is thwarted with issues, and especially those of us that we're in a two-county district right now. We have a potential of 8 more counties to come in, and when you talk about representation for a county to vote itself in, do we then talk about a board of trustees of 10? And then do we talk about a board of trustees of 10 where Weiser would have, or Payette County would have same representation, but 1/10 the population of Ada County? I mean, it's thwarted with issues of how would you go to restructure that and work with that process.
Anyone else?
Senator Getty, Senator Patrick, as you're all aware, legislation has been out there for the last several years about this particular issue. I think the education that we need to do for the public has to do with when a community college district is formed, we have now erased county lines. It's not an issue about representing a county. It's about representing a community college district that does not have county lines. That being said, then we turn right around, and based upon how we collect fees is based upon county lines. And so we need to educate the populace on when we have the College of Southern Idaho Junior College District or Community College District, however you prefer to say it, the people who serve on that Board of Trustee serve Jerome County as much as they do Twin Falls County. It doesn't make any difference where they come from. However, I would agree with you 100% with what you say, because that's what I'm hearing also.
Mr. Chairman, just a little follow-up.
Senator Patrick.
I agree that the board does a good job. I'm not complaining at all, but the perception. And I do run in those districts, and I do hear it, and I do talk to people in Mini-Cache area, and that's the hang-up. And I don't know how you solve it. I don't think you want a board of 20, but I don't think you're going to get 20 counties or 10 counties. But you got to have some distribution, or people feel left out, and they won't vote for it.
Agreed.
Committee, I just got passed a note from Mr. Browning. NIC has 32 dual credit students that will graduate this year with their associate's degree before they get their high school degree. I think that's the way it should be. Gentlemen, it's really nice having this format. I think it illustrates the cooperation that you provide the students of this state, and I would also note that it's my understanding that your board chairs meet on a regular basis and that your boards are going to meet this week
Correct.
in a joint meeting.
Correct.
I wished we had other segments of our delivery of that public education able to do that kind of cooperative work.
Chairman Giddy, if I might speak on behalf of my colleagues, my presidents, and our trustees, we appreciate you giving us this opportunity to explore this format, and it is truly a huge statement about what we're about what we're doing, about what the state of Idaho is progressing towards. Thank you very, very much.
And thank you, Mr. President. Committee, I think we've exhausted our agenda. We are adjourned.
Hey, Phil, how you doing? Good to see you. Okay?
Way to go. Glad you put your soul out there and allow yourself to do that.
Well, it's a lot better than having to present separately. Hey, how you doing? Very impressive. Harold, you guys did a nice job.
Just a beautiful job.
Very nice. Nice to see you.
Beautiful. You get a big chance to
We got more to go.
So do I? Bert, just for one See, and the thing is, if they select a good candidate or run a good campaign, they can have their seniors right in. See, I got pretty high votes.
That's your problem. That's your problem.
I got two people running against me, so I still. I know this, the reception is there. In fact, I was very concerned that she would She had talked about running, and as a board member, and she ran out of pieces. But it was true. We didn't love that because it's just
Good seeing you,
Good
sir.
to see you, Rob.
You take care.
I'm Rob Winslow. The way the bill was written, the way the bill was written, that they were requiring a candidate.
We beat everything around the edges.
That's right.
We're doing now.
We had the answers.
You guys take care.
Okay, good to see you, Rob.
It's amazing.